Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alaih. Wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. May yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam tabaraka wa sallama tasliman kasiran kasira amma ba'd. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa man ahsanu qawlan mimman da'a ila Allah wa amila salihan wa qala innani minal muslimin. My dear brothers and respected elders and respected sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with this religion of Islam. It's a very great blessing or ni'mah of Allah which Allah has bestowed upon us if we are a believer. No? We've been blessed with the tawfiq to embrace Islam. Some of us are born with the parents which are Muslims, and therefore naturally they become Muslim. But some are not. Some have converted to Islam, either a very long time or just recently. And yet, it's all the blessing of Allah. It's the rahmah of Allah. It's a great blessing of Allah. No one can recite the kalima, become Muslim, unless Allah has given him the tawfiq, the permission to be able to recite the kalima and to be able to embrace Islam. So this is a religion which Allah have assigned, bestowed upon the entire mankind. And there is no other religion other than Islam. The religion of Prophet Adam till the last Prophet of Allah, Muhammad Sallallahu is all Islam. Islam means submission to the will of Allah, submission to the desire of Allah. You know, those who submit to the desire of Allah need to suppress their own desire, because they also have desire. Allah also have desire. So we can't, adopt the desire of Allah without suppressing our desires. And when we need to suppress our desire in order to obey the desire of Allah, we have to do sacrifice or mujahadah. So Allah says, those who are willing to do mujahadah on my path, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا بِنَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. So those who are willing, to do mujahadah, to suppress their desire in order to fulfill the desire of Allah, that means to obey the orders of Allah, the commands of Allah upon them. I will open up many ways. Many ways. So my dear brothers and sisters, it's not sufficient only to recite the kalima. It's not sufficient to be born only in the family of Muslim. We need to do mujahadah. Mujahadah, we have to do sacrifice. We have to make sacrifice of the utmost level. If we are not willing to do that, then we will not become a Muslim, the true believers of good deeds. Only reciting the kalima is a blessing. Naturally, it's a very great blessing. Abu Talib wasn't able to recite the kalima when our Prophet Muhammad asked him, not once, not twice, many times. And the last time, the time when he's about to die, Rasulullah went to him and persuaded him to recite the kalima, so that he can give shafaat to him and save him from the hellfire. But yet, Allah did not give tawfiq to his uncle, Abu Talib, to recite the kalima. He was very much frustrated, devastated, very much sad, and Allah revealed an ayat, "O Muhammad, you cannot give me tawfiq, hidayat, to those whom you love. But Allah gives hidayat to whom He wills." So Hazala should be feeling thankful. He's not the uncle of Muhammad Sallam. Nothing near to that. Only an ordinary man, and yet he can recite the kalima. When the uncle of Muhammad Sallam, the one who loved him so much, has given very great service to his son and to his nephew Muhammad, become his father, and yet he was not blessed with the tawfiq to recite the kalima. So to be able to recite the kalima is actually a very great blessing. But yet it is not sufficient only to recite the kalima. They should know that I have recited the kalima, but I shouldn't think this is about all. This is about all that I have to do in order to become a Muslim. You have entered Islam when you recited the kalima, but you have not become a Muslim, or you have not become a true believer with good deeds. You will not be safe from the fire of hellfire. Only able to recite the kalima. Of course, you will enter the hellfire, but in case you are among those who have recited the kalima, you may be given the shafaat, or shafaat to be taken up from the hellfire. That's about all. But you are still enter the hellfire when the only thing that you have reciting the kalima. If you want to be safe from the hellfire, and enter the paradise, you cannot become only a person who have recited the kalima. You have to become a Muslim, or you have to become a believer, the true believer with the good deeds, or the people who are taqwa, or the people who fear Allah. So in order to become a Muslim, in order to become the true believer with the good deeds, or people of taqwa, after reciting the kalima, you have to obey the first order of Allah. After reciting the kalima, which is the order to invite mankind to good, forbidding the people from the evils, with the sacrifice of your own wealth and time. And the reason as to why many Muslims are not able to become a Muslim, not able to become the people of taqwa, not able to become the true believers, because they only recite the kalima but not doing the work which fulfill the rights of reciting the kalima. And the work which fulfill the right of reciting the kalima is the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil, or the work of inviting people to Allah. These are very great things. It's not simple. It's not something which you say, oh, never mind, I will only pray. If you pray and you don't do this work, then your prayer will not reach to the stable, to the level which Allah is pleased. Your prayer will not be accepted till your death. Like, even Samad, who has become a true believer through good deeds, to the lower level, of the lower level, he hasn't got khushu in his prayer. So the prayer which has no khushu will not be able to prevent that person from evil deeds. Allah says truly the prayer, Inna salata tanha anil fahsya'i wal munkar. Truly salat will prevent from evil deeds. The salat of Samad cannot do that. Neither all of your salat. Know the salat of someone. Because all the salat of yours have no khushu, have no remembrance of Allah. Just now I asked Allah, I have the ability to ask Allah. Any of your salat is khushu? None of you. None of you are praying behind me is having khushu. He's having remembrance of Allah. Not even the slightest. I asked Allah about the salat of Yazid and Rashidi. Is there any slightest remembrance of Allah? He said no. So many years of praying. Nearly 30 years of praying. Yazid only 10 years. Very long time. But because you are not a Muslim, you are not a true believer with the highest level of Iman. With the highest level of Iman. Or you are not the lover of Allah. So your salat are not khushu. So whenever you have problem, you cannot solve it with salat. Allah says, wasta'inu bis sabri wa salat. When you have any difficulties, perform salat with patience. So your problem will not be solved. Your prayer will not be accepted. So you don't have the blessing or the good outcomes of being a Muslim. Because you are not become the true Muslim. You have only become the people who have recited the great kalima. You have only become the people who have entered Islam. But the true kalima, the kalima which you have recited has not entered to your heart to the level which Allah is pleased, very pleased with. So the first thing which we must be worried about is as to why we are not able to have a salat which is khushu or with concentration and devotion. Before we want to make Hajj, fasting, pay zakat and all the other orders of Allah, we must be able to perform the second order of Allah with perfection. To a certain extent with perfection. This is the order of salat. So the reason as why we are unable to perform salat with perfection is because we have omitted the first order of Allah. We have mistaken for all this while that the first order of Allah after reciting the kalima is to perform salat. These are the mistakes which the entire Muslim, the so-called Muslim, or the believer, way back from the time of the companions of Muhammad SAW, they have mistaken. Somehow or other, it is in the Quran but not in Hadith. The Hadith about this has been buried, not available, even in Bukhari and Muslim. The Hadith on the work of Ta'muruna bil Ma'ruf wa Tanha 'anil Munkar are omitted in that very authentic, so-called authentic book of Hadith. The two books of authentic book of Hadith, Muslim and Bukhari, are not having the very important Hadith on very important order of Allah. What does it show? It shows that at the time when the book was written, the work of inviting people to Allah or the work of inviting people to good and forbidding people has been no longer practiced. No longer practiced by the whole Muslims. So the hadith on that will not be available. And until today, we are not saying, we are not having the belief that it is obligatory. Because it's not in Bukhari and Muslim. But it is in the Quran. Why it is in the Quran, not in Bukhari and Muslim? Because Bukhari and Muslim is written 200 years. 200 years after, more than 200 years after the demise of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
So,
Quran was written just few years after the demise of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Compared to the Hadith, written only after more than 200 years. The first book of Hadith, Ibn Mawta, is it? Written 168 years after the demise of Muhammad. At that time, the Muslims are no longer practicing the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people. None of them. So when the orders are not being practiced or not being obeyed, naturally nobody knows about the work. It is completely buried. So the work has been forgotten by the entire Muslim population, even at that time. And what more at this time? Naturally, it is almost an alien orders of Allah, unknown. Orders which has disappeared in the thin air. So nobody knows what is the hukum of the order of inviting people to good, forbidding people. In the Quran, in Surah Imran, kuntum khaira ummatin, ukhrijat linnas, ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. Wal takum minkum ummatun yad'una ilal khair wa ya'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna 'anil munkar wa ulaika humul muflihun. Ya bunayya aqimis salah wa'mur bil ma'ruf wanha 'anil munkar. There's so many ayats in the Quran, almost. But it is such a very incongruous, or something which should not happen. Is the most authentic book of hadith of the Muslim are not writing on this hadith. It is improbable. It is almost inconceivable that such a very authentic book of hadith, being regarded by the whole Muslim, are not writing on this order. Only the order of fasting is mentioned in the Quran only once, and it's made obligatory, fardu ain, fasting in the month of Ramadan. The work of inviting people to good, forbidding people has been mentioned numerous times, more than maybe, I do not know, but probably more than 100 times. So many times. And yet, it is not in Bukhari Muslim. So naturally, most the scholars of Islam are concentrating more on hadith. None of the scholars of Islam has ever able to produce a very authentic interpretation of the Quran. So people read the Quran, they understand the meaning, they know the meaning, but they don't understand. Because the words of Allah is so supreme. It is unable to be understood by a person with very, very weak iman. Even though he is very fluent in Arabic, well versed in Arabic, but if he doesn't have iman, or he is not the true believer with the good deeds, he will not be able to understand. And what his lover, Allah, is talking in the Quran. So if Allah is our lover, which there is none after the demise of Muhammad SAW, there is none among his followers who is the lover of Allah, who is able to become the lover of Allah, because they are not even doing the work, inviting people to good, forbidding the people who even like Muhammad SAW. So when they have neglected the first order of Allah, obligatory, fardu ain and fardu kifayah, so there's none from among the followers of Muhammad SAW is able to become the true believer with good deeds. So when I'm born and I'm doing the work of Dawah, following the work of Jamaat Tabligh, I was wondering as to why, after following Tabligh for nearly 20 years, I still do not have the khushu' in my prayer. I was wondering as to why it is so difficult. I submitted myself in totality to the work, follow every single tertib, the so-called tertib. I do not know, I was not the scholars of Islam, but why it is so difficult? Islam seems to be so difficult. It is difficult because we don't follow the correct Islam. That's why. If you make a clothes, simple one, if you do not know how to make a clothes, you can never make it. Because you don't have the technical know-how. How to make a clothes. You will never be able. You have to know it. Then only you will have a clothes. You can sew it. But if you do not know the correct way of sewing a clothes, you will never get a clothes. So in anything, if you want to have in anything, we must be able to do it correctly. If we do something incorrectly, we will never till the end of our life be able to attain whatever we want. So similarly, to have khushu' in prayer will never be achieved unless we follow the true religion of Islam. The true religion which has been shown and practiced by Muhammad SAW. So I was thinking, I was crying, I was asking Allah as to why I'm not able. I was crying almost every night. There are some people who hear my crying, even though they were thinking this is crocodile tears. Dr. Nasoha is making crocodile tears in the mosque, in the markas of Jamaat Tabligh in Seri Petaling. But I know whether it's a crocodile tears or not, I'm crying at least. Crying because Abu Bakr said, if you don't cry, you pretend to cry. So I use this as a means to derive Allah's attention towards me, so that He will feel pity with me, that His slave is so engrossed in trying to find out what is the way, up to months, years, then Allah give me the insinuation. Insinuation is the ilham, that I need to go from house to house and I need to talk to them about the great kalimah, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasul. I need to remind them. That was the first ilham. Then I did that, which I don't do up before that, because I was told that's not the work. The work is only to ask people to go out for 3 days, 4 days, 40 days, not to talk about the kalimah, not to go to every house of the Muslim. So initially, I was given the topic to visit only Muslim house, because it is the tertib in Jamaat Tabligh. We don't go and visit the non-Muslim. So I abide to that tertib, but I do something which other Tabligh people are not doing. That is to visit the Muslim house, from house to house. So in my locality, almost all the people are Muslim. So I go from house to house. Sometimes there is a few houses of non-Muslim, but I will leave that house. After 10 years of doing that, I find out I have not been able to attain the khushu' in my prayer. So when I am not able to attain khushu' in my prayer, there is something wrong. The last 10 years which I have been doing from house to house of the Muslim, reminding them about the kalimah, is not truly the correct one. It is the correct already, but it's not true. Then I said there's something which I have not done which is to visit the non-Muslim. In 2007, I started to be given the topic by Allah. After 10 years, not easy. To make dua in front of the house of the non-Muslim in 2007. I remember it's about probably August or September. And then in 2008, in January 2008, I start to talk to the non-Muslim, to give them dawah. Something just come out from my mouth. I can no longer wait. I can no longer be patient of not inviting the non-Muslim. Since that day until today, I'm not only visiting the Muslim, reminding them about kalima, but I'm inviting the non-Muslim to recite the kalima. So in the early days when we started the work, there are many non-Muslim who are not willing. They scolded us, they jeered at us. They say bad words, but we remain patient. And then we make dua for them. We don't scold them back. So that's how we do the work until today. So when I started that work, then Allah gave me knowledge. Allah gave me the understanding. Much more than Allah has given me when I was doing tabligh for nearly 40 years. I did tabligh at the age of 21. I started to go from house to house at the age of 42. I started to go from house to house, either Muslim or non-Muslim house, at the age of 52 or something like that. Then from the age of 52 onwards, Allah gave me the increase of Iman of tremendous level, so high, to the level that enabled me to understand the Quran, you see. Then enabled me to make the tafseer of Quran in 2013, starting Surah Al-Fatiha, Baqarah, and completing the tafseer from 2013, 2020, in the day of Maulud, on the day of the birth of Muhammad SAW, Maulud, I've completed the whole tafsir, the tafsir of the whole Quran in 84 books. Each book about 300, 200, or 370 pages. These are not possible, and then in the last maybe 5, 10, 6 years, Allah gave me the khushu of prayer. And therefore, in the whole world now, there's only one person who has been showered with the blessing of having khushu in salat. You see, it is not difficult. Only the work which I've done in the last 40 years of my tabligh work is not actually the correct word. Even though the mashayikh, the leaders of tabligh, are saying this is correct work, this is a work of Nabi, but it's not. That's why I'm bravely able to tell them that your work is not the work of Nabi, because I've gone through that work. Not that I've not gone through the work of the tabligh, I've gone through it nearly 40 years. I've studied every aspect of it, and now Allah has given me the understanding which is much superior than even my mashayikh, my mashayikh who have taught me when I was in tabligh. Now I know more than them. They don't know what I knew. But when I invited them to do what I did, they refused. So I have no choice but to continue on myself, to do this work and to tell the whole mankind what is truly the work of Muhammad SAW. The work of Muhammad SAW is not only to visit the Muslim, it's not only to call Muslim to go for 40 days, 4 months, but the work of the Muslim, the work of Muhammad SAW is to invite the non-Muslim to recite the kalima. And when they have recited the kalima, not to leave them as such, to invite them to do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil, with the sacrifice of their own wealth and time. And for the Muslim, we have to remind them about the great kalimah. And we have to invite them to the first order of Allah after reciting the kalimah, which is the order of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil, with the sacrifice of their own time and wealth. And this is the way we should be done. Not asking only Muslim to go for 3 days, 4 days, 40 days, 4 months, as done by Jamaat Tabligh. The people of Jamaat Tabligh are really convinced that their work are the truth, nothing but truth. The elders are spending tremendous amount of times and gross so deeply in the work of Tabligh. But the work of Tabligh is mainly asking people to spend time, Muslim, in the mosque. They say the mosque is like a hospital. You have to remain in the hospital for 4 months, then you get cured. So people are naturally very enthusiastic to get cured, so they spend for 4 months. But many have found out, after they spend 4 months, they gain almost nothing other than having good clothes, like Nabi, and good turban, and very stylish perfumes. That's about all. They still do not have khushu in their prayer. For all those Tablighi people in the whole world now, you just answer to my question. Are you having khushu in your prayer? If you don't, then you are following not a correct work. I was making the khushu in my prayer as a benchmark, and I couldn't get it in Tabligh. I only get it from the work of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And truly and surely, I'm so fortunate. But I have to tell you how to get it. You have to listen and to follow the same way which I've done. You don't have to sacrifice to find the ways anymore, because the ways has been found out by me with the grace of Allah. You just have to follow it diligently, with full enthusiasm and concentration. You do the work, local work, which is fardu ain. Nobody told this, that the local work is fardu ain. I'm the only one. For women and men. Not only for men, for women and men. Is fardu ain. It means every Muslim in the whole world should do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil in their own locality. From their mosque, they should send group either individually or with a jamaat of 2 or 3%. If a woman, they must go with his husband, or they may go with other women, visiting women only. But if they go with their husband, they can go from house to house. If a woman come out, then his wife will give dawah. If a man come out, the husband will give. And the man should form either individually, if there's nobody in the locality to help him, he should do it individually, or with jamaat of 2-3 men. Go from house to house of every person in the locality, preventing their evils. What is the evil of the non-Muslim? Not willing to recite the kalimah. How to prevent them? Call them, invite them to recite the kalimah. What is the evil of the Muslim who have recited the kalimah? They don't do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil, and they're not performing prayers. So you invite them. To prevent their evil, you must invite them, we must invite them to do the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people from evil, and performing salat with jamaat in the mosque. So, every day we must spend time, at least 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. In a month, 3 days, we must go to the neighboring mosque, neighboring locality, and inviting those people, non-Muslim and Muslim. In a year, we must spend 4 months, or 40 days, or 2 months, or whatever months decided with mashwara for us, to go in all over, in the whole country, in the whole world. So this is the thing that we have to do. And in the whole world, we must prevent the evil of the non-Muslim and the evils of the Muslim. Then only we are said to be doing the work of dawah. Then only we are said to be doing the work of preventing people from evil. If we are not inviting the non-Muslims, we are not preventing evils. Because the greatest evil committed by man towards Allah is not willing to recite the kalima. And the greatest evil committed by those who have recited the kalima is not doing the work of inviting people to good, forbidding people. Who in the world understand this other than me? There's nobody. That's why this work has been buried, has been neglected. And the hukum for doing the local work is fardu ain, and the hukum for doing the work for in the whole world is fardu kifayah. It is only obligatory for men, not for women. Men should form jamats of comprised of people who are frequently doing the work in their locality, who are istiqamah, who are steadfast in doing local work. From among them, form a jamaat of 3 days, 4 months, 40 days, 4 months, 2 months, and send them to many parts of the country and the whole world. And in that places, they must do the work of inviting the non-Muslims to recite the kalima, and the Muslim to do the work of dawah. If only this will happen, in the whole entire world, every mosque are doing this work, every person of the Muslim are doing this work, naturally, you will see not thousands. People will embrace Islam. Thousands of Muslims will do this work. And the whole scenario of the whole world will change tremendously. Even now, we are not doing it. I'm only doing a little bit only in my place. And sometime. But yet Allah has shown by the blessing of my prayer, in my locality, if I go to the non-Muslim or the Muslim, if they are not available or they are not willing, then I'll make dua. Allah has accepted my dua. None of the dua of my so-called students are accepted because their prayers are not khushu. But with the acceptance of my dua, Allah has make changes in the whole world. You can see now, people go embrace Islam. By thousand, by hundred, they were amazed. What has happened? People have entered Islam in thousands. Whole world, the number of Muslims now is on the top. Christians used to be the majority religion in the world. Now has been overtaken by Islam. They say many people entered Islam in America, in UK, in Latin America. So many. We are not doing any work. Just my prayer. And just imagine, only with the prayer of one man, Allah is changing this world. And you will see, when we really go throughout the whole world and doing this work, the whole world, inshallah, will change to a place of peace and tranquility, with justices prevail everywhere in the world, and people live, with harmony. And when they will die, and the most important thing, they will enter paradise. So my dear brothers, please listen to my talk and obey it, and try to do the work, even though you have not come to Malaysia to learn the work, but you try, read my blog, profnasoha.com, and read my tafseer of Quran. You can find it from Amazon.com and Google Play, and read the Quran. And also in the tafseer also, I sometimes mention the way on how to do the work. You can then practice it to the best of your ability until the time when you're able to come here to learn it from the so-called student of mine, which they themselves have not become the true believers in good deeds, because they themselves are not doing the work properly. But never mind, you learn from them and you become better than them, and you can become the more true believers in good deeds. A person who are not able to become true believers will not be able to enter paradise. They'll be the same as the Jews, the Christian, the Sabi'in, the munafiqin in the hellfire, except they are not as long as them, because they'll be made to enter the hellfire in accordance to the sin which they have committed. But yet they will have to still to enter the hellfire. If we want to be completely free from the hellfire, entered paradise and saved from the hellfire, we have to become the true believers of good deeds, or the true Muslim, or the people who are taqwa, or having the fear of Allah. Okay.